Alright, good morning. I'm Aaron Heiser of Maker's Leather Supply, and today we're finally going to continue making the Lux handbag. I apologize for the delays between shows and everything, and also this is a lengthy video because I'm having to hand sew everything. I could have easily run it through a machine, but I like to every once in a while choose a big project to hand sew because I want to prove to people they don't have to have a sewing machine. Yes, it can speed things up, but hand sewing is great, it looks amazing, it just takes a lot of time. So, in today's video, we're going to attach the reverse gussets onto the end gusset pieces here, okay? And then we're also going to take the bottom piece and attach it to the two side pieces. And then before we leave today, we're going to go ahead and glue the two gussets in and start hand stitching the entire perimeter of the bag. I am going to be very honest with you, once I've got these instructions out, it's going to be a minute before I get mine hand sewn, but it'll at least get people to the point that honestly they can probably finish it by themselves after this, because after that it's just going to be a bunch of edge burnishing and things like that. So without further ado, let's keep going. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is take our gusset piece and our reverse gusset piece here, and we're going to get them put together, okay? And when they're done, they'll look like this one, okay? So all I'm doing is finish side to finish side. I'm going to sew those two together. It's a little bit tricky. It might be a little bit of trimming. A lot of all this fitment depends on your leather thicknesses that you're using and things like that, okay? So it's okay if you start to put something together and you're like, man, I need to trim 1/4 of an inch off of that. That's fine. Do it. So the gusset piece, we already burnished the top edge of it, okay? So what we're going to be worrying about is the other edges, the other three sides of it, okay? We're going to take our reverse gusset piece. Now it has a flat edge and then one that kind of has some scallops and stuff that follow the edge of the bag. We're going to take the flat edge and we're going to clip it to this end gusset. And how I've done it on this other one is I just started with the two ends, clipped them right along the top, and then I continued clipping down the sides. I don't like to glue this part because once you sew it, we're gonna really stretch this out a little bit, and if you see glue in there, then it's ugly and it's hard to remove. So that's why I'm doing it with clips. Okay. So I'm gonna just clip it down these sides here. Just keeping my edges straight with each other. And this bottom clip I'll put kind of close to the corner down here, and you'll see why in just a second, because we're going to have to force it around that corner. Okay, but first I'm going to take and just kind of split what's left here, and I'll go ahead and put a clip right smack in the middle right here. Now you're free to, you need to work it around these corners here. Okay, and basically you're just going to stretch out the bottom of it so that you can hold it flat enough that you can sew it down. This is one of the few things I'm going to sew on a sewing machine just for the speed of it all. But that's how I got this one onto here. I'm using the same color of blue thread as I did for all my hand sewing. The stitch will be seen on the inside of the bag, but just barely. And that's why I don't mind machine sewing this piece as opposed to all the hand sewing that I'm going to do that can be seen on the outside of the bag. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and I'm just going to stitch this down, being very careful. I'll start right here and I'll sew down. When I get to that corner, I'll just very slowly go one stitch at a time to work my way around that corner and stretch that sucker flat right there so that it looks like this right here. And then when I'm done with that, we need to also burnish these other three edges. They'll barely be seen on the inside, but better safe than sorry. You might as well color them and burnish to match everything, everything else in the bag, because we're making a really nice bag, and it should look as nice as we can make it look, right? So that's what we're about to do. When I come back, we'll talk about burnishing these edges. Alright, so now I have both of these sewn, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my razor knife and just kind of trim them up to match and sand them a little bit so that I can get so that I can color and burnish that edge. And there's no special trick to what we're about to do here. The burnishing is going to be just like anything else that we've burnished on this same bag. I'm going to use token oil, and I'm going to use the Phoebing's turquoise dye, just like I did on the rest of this. Even though it says it's turquoise, it really does show up as kind of a royal blue on this. But if I use the blue, it gets too dark, and I didn't want it to be like navy. I'm sure I've explained that already. The other thing we want to talk about is, for this to fit in the bag correctly, we need to kind of manipulate the edges and corners of this so that they fold in just a little bit. So you just kind of need to break the grain, I guess, I don't know, but pre-fold them a little bit so that they're rolled inward a little bit, because these will be on the inside of the bag, and then these flaps will be what's actually sewn to the outside of the bag right here. So that's what we're doing. You all have seen me burnish edges before, so I don't really feel the need to make you watch me do it right now, but that's what I'm going to do on both of these, is burnish the remaining 3 edges. And when I come back, we're going to talk about putting in the bottom and lining the bottom and yeah, getting this thing ready to sew together. Alrighty, so I got those 2 pieces edged and burnished so that they'll look pretty inside the purse. Okay, so the bottom of the bag, okay, is the same color as my 2 side panels. I used my skiving machine, but I skived off about a ½ an inch, maybe a tiny bit wider. I just skived about half the thickness of the leather because this part is going to have to fold. Okay, we'll fold this up, and then the side panels will be sewn to it to where the side panel will sit flush on the ground when the whole thing is complete. Okay, so now that I had to do that little bit of skiving, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to line it. So I've got my liner piece here. It's the same stuff I lined the rest of the bag with. I'm just going to slather some glue all over, or contact cement all over the back side of this and the back side of this, and I'm going to stick the 2 together. And once again, I'm going to do this in a manner just like I've done 1,000 times before on video. There's just not a reason to make you watch me do it. I'm going to use my water-based contact cement because I've been using that with the rest of this project, and I really like this stuff. But yeah, that's all there's going to be to it. We're just going to get this on here, spread it around, and when it dries clear, we'll come back and stick it together. Again, with contact cement, I'm going to put it on this side and on this piece because that's what makes it stick. So we'll get those 2 pieces glued up, and then we'll commence sewing the 2 sides of the bag together. Alrighty, so these are both shiny, which means the glue is set up and ready to go. Now I'm going to leave this piece flat on the table, and I'm going to put this piece to it. Reason being is because with that piece being skived, I want to kind of mold this one to that, and if I do it the other way around, then the little skived areas will mold to this, and it's just not the way I want it. So there we go. Alright, get my little roller out, stick that down good. Little bubbles of air coming out from under it. Alright, now I just need to trim the excess of the liner off of it. And then I have to burnish the outside edges of this because they will be seen inside the purse. And I also want to burnish the bottom edges of my purse sides. Okay? So I'll show you those in just one second. All right. So, these bottom edges right here, okay? Opposite of where we put the zippers, I need to burnish those edges because once they're sewn to this, you won't get a chance to do it later. So I'm gonna, once again, go off camera, I'm gonna burnish these on both of these, top and bottom, or sorry, both sides of the purse, and I'm gonna burnish this edge right here that I just created as well, on both sides, okay? When I come back, we're going to overlap these by 1/4 inch and stitch them together. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Let's do this. Alright, so here we are. We got all that burnished up. Okay, so the bottom, both sides of this and both of my bottoms of my sides are all burnished. Now, to sew these together, this one has to overlap this one 1/4 inch. Okay? Or at least as close to 1/4 inch as you can make it. But, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I hadn't decided yet really. I may double-sided tape it, just because it's a little bit more accurate than glue. No, I'm going to glue it. But anyway, I'm going to explain to you what's next, which is we'll do both of these. We'll sew one, and then the other one 1/4 inch off the other side of it. Okay, and again, this overlaps this. All right, very important. This overlaps this. All right. Now, once that's done, I'm going to try to describe to you the next steps because that'll be in the next video. Hopefully, I'll be getting to that very soon, but it won't be on this one. So I want to explain it to you. So then you have, after those two lines are sewn, then you can fold it shut and it'll be like a taco shape, right? These fit in the ends of the taco shape and they glue into the, along the outside edge of this, and I'm going to hand sew that whole thing. I mean, it'll go all the way up, across, and down on one side of the purse and then underneath it, back up and across the other side. And it's going to be one big long continuous stitch. But before I stitch that, I want to just kind of temporarily put this into place because I still have one more piece that I have to attach, and that is this. Okay, this is our little fold over flap, right? I haven't attached it yet because I'm not 100% sure where it's going to end up being on the back side of the bag. But basically, when it's taco shaped, I want to be able to snap it into place on the front and then fold it over the back, and I don't want to create a lot of tension. I don't want it to squeeze the purse closed. It really is more for decoration considering we already have a zipper on this bag. Okay? And then I'll just mark where it lands on the other side, and then that's where I'll stitch it to it. Okay, and I want to try to do that while the bag is still kind of flat. I don't want to sew in my sides first because then you're reaching inside the bag to try to hand sew that, and that's a pain in the butt. So, again, I will just temporarily place my ends in with a couple of clips or something like that, and that way I can figure out my spot for this. Once all that is done, the only things left to do is to burnish all of our edges, finish our ends of our zippers. We're going to have to take some more of the blue leather, and we'll knock off some teeth and get our zipper put together, and then we're going to figure out what kind of handles we want to put on it. But I wanted to pre-explain all that for anybody that might need to get ahead or want to get ahead, because I know this has been a very ongoing and long video series. Yeah, so that way somebody could go ahead and finish it if they've got the confidence to do that. If not, I promise I'm working on it. I'm hoping to get these two pieces hand sewn this afternoon so that I can come back tomorrow and do everything I just talked about. So, till next time though, this has been the Lux Handbag video 4, I think. Anyway, I'm Aaron Heiser of Maker's Leather Supply, and I hope you have a great day.